As long as I can remember, Somalia has been in war, and there's just been constant starvation there. This was around 2011. And this refugee woman, her husband had died, and there was such food insecurity and so much starvation that she decided to take her 9 children and go to the nearest UN camp. So she started out, 6 weeks later she got there. But she started with 9 children, and when she got there, she had 5. I watched this refugee camp for a number of years. And then about 5 years ago, I saw that they had pulled out the UN staff because it was just too dangerous. They really don't have a way to protect themselves, and several had been killed. So once the UN pulled out, the militias moved in, and they just eliminated the thousands of people in this camp. In order to deal with this subject matter with my art, I use anything that I can use to try and speak to people. So in this case, I've used this figure, and she's kind of like the anchor piece for my show. And but I'll use symbolic pieces. I use things that are kind of graphic. I'm even using words, just so that I can somehow capture people and they can find some kind of way to relate to the situation. I often use a 3-part canvas. There's other places in the show when I use it, and I use it there primarily because it has a storytelling kind of feel. But here, I really wanted to use it because I wanted to use a 3-piece canvas and just enfold her in some gold leaf embellishment, because that's a style that was used in the 13th century, and it was used primarily for the most elevated role for a woman and child, and that's the Madonna and Child. And for me, it just felt really appropriate that I should have a Muslim woman of color in that position. And because I wanted people to step away from their normal dogmatic ways of looking at things and see this person as the completely unique, irreplaceable individual that they truly are, and that we truly are, each and every one of us. So, and then the other thing is I used a Renaissance glazing method, which was very common around the 16th century. They used with figures, and it takes about 50 coats to do a skin tone, and that's because there's very little oil in the glaze at all, and you just slowly build it up so that it looks as if the light is shining through the skin rather than being applied at the end, which you see in most modern paintings that will add the highlights at the end. I've tried to take as compassionate a view as I can, because for all of the parties involved, because I really don't believe that we're going to be able to deal with this problem constructively at all unless we have compassion for all of the parties. We'll never be able to deal with it. And the other thing is that I believe that social art really can't be effective unless we find a way to pry open people's hearts. And that's really all I've done in my show. I've tried to do that. Now, whether I, be able to accomplish any of the things that I've set out to do, I'll know. The show is scheduled for November 5th. And it should be through CALB, but if it's not at CALB, it may be at another location, but you'll be able to find it on
And so, again, the bends are different for each of the pieces, each of the folds. And so, over the period of time, depending on lighting, you'll see that light and dark, light and dark, and light and dark. So then, I thought, well, if we can do it that way, and so I put together this the 3D model, which shows what I intended to do. Here, if you rotate the rod, all these little pieces turn in different directions. Next slide. And this is an image from a different model. And go ahead and show the next slide. So those are just static images of what happens when those things turn. You can turn the projector off. And so let me get up higher. I think you can see this.
Yeah.
So and so my grand plan is to use a little microprocessor with some servo motors to make this move around in small steps. Maybe every 5 minutes, it goes from this position, little by little, to that position. Maybe that's spread across 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or it could take all day long. But now it's a kinetic thing, so that, and even with the changes in light, it'll appear to change even if you don't see the motion. But anyhow, my plan would be to use a little programmable microprocessor to control the servo motor to make this work automatically. I might even have each of the shafts independently controlled. Right now, they're all linked together with what looks like a little train drive. And the next step beyond this, for this concept, would be to have these pieces all be circles, and then the lower row would fit in between those circles, and so that's where it's at, and that's what I'm doing. So, thank you.
Facility with that, and we can make public art or personal wall art, and of course I need material. So this is not for the project itself. This is simply for putting together a realistic proposal that anyone who's going to fundamentally practicing yoga and Tai Chi. There are dozens of yoga studios and many classes in parks that attract diverse clientele. I'm actually stealing this cartoon, one of my favorite cartoons, The Last Yoga Studio for 0.2 miles. That kind of typifies where we are in yoga. And also, at Bluff Park alone, there are a couple hundred people that practice free yoga every day. And Sundays, this Sunday I was there on Signal Hill practicing Tai Chi with, again, a wide mixture of people who practice this. And understanding that yoga and Tai Chi, particularly from my viewpoint, teaches us balance for seniors. It teaches us flexibility, but perhaps more importantly, it's a spiritual art. It relaxes us, calms us down, centers us. It allows us to address perhaps some of the issues that Suzanne brought up in a more calm, self-centered. I appreciated her description. We really need to start with ourselves and be ready to accept the kind of stress we experience in this world today. So, celebrating, I hope my art celebrates yoga and Tai Chi in Long Beach, as I mentioned. I teach both of them and have over 100, I have over 100 students that I teach on a weekly basis, both Tai Chi and yoga. And I'd like to see this project be a beginning of yoga and Tai Chi art. I'd like to see Long Beach, since we have so much of it going on in actuality, become kind of have the art all over the place in terms of sculptural art, or mural art, and celebrate these these Asian movement arts that have captured our city and our nation, really. So here I am, as it may be, and this is Tai Chi sword, which is obviously not a real weapon, but it's a sword. And this is one of my favorite poses, Fanji, striking behind. So I was inspired by this pose to begin, and I began about 1.5 years ago, or I've been for years just doing very naturalistic figurative art. We call these maquettes, models, French word maquette. So I did a little clay maquette of this pose. And then I said, well, how am I going to loosen up? How am I going to move this from my very too literal, perhaps, tradition to a more, more abstract tradition. So I sculpted directly in plaster. So this piece over here is this piece here, and I began looking at, since I was in plaster, Giacometti, of course, worked in plaster, and he was able to create very human stories, if you will, in elongated figures. So I said, well, let me look at elongating this figure. And then I took it a step further and began elongating it even farther. And this is the beginning of the piece. I finished more of this piece. But, I'm an Open University student at Cal State Long Beach in their sculpture program, the arts department. And actually, Matt and I have a common teacher, Brian Crockett. And Brian began pushing me to become more abstract. And I began making these maquettes out of anything, cardboard, wood, wire, sponges that we find in our house. We began looking at the planes that we create when we do Tai Chi and yoga. If you think about it, if you're swinging a sword, it's really a plane. If you're making a movement of your body, you're kind of moving a line that becomes a plane. So I began exploring the planes, and these are a subset of the many models I built. This developed into a model that I built in foam board. And then, finally, this model that we see over here in steel. And I added this window because actually, those of you who know Cal State Long Beach, and somebody was mentioning all the public art there, they have at least one window. They have really several kinds of windows. So that inspired me because really the most expressive view of this pose is from the rear. I call this pose slaying our shadow. We all have a shadow, and the pose just before this is a thrust forward, and without looking, you sense what's behind you, and you strike behind you. So perhaps philosophically, we might not want to slay our shadow because our shadow is part of us, but certainly in Tai Chi, we have the ability to both strike forward and backward, to give and take. So that's what this pose expresses, and this figure expresses. So I was at actually an arts council meeting with Lisa Schmidt, and it was at May, and we walked out, And across the street, I saw this patio. So this is from Pine Street. And the patio is part of the Civic Court Apartments in 200 block. And so I went straight up to the telephone and called them. Obviously, they gave me a number and said, wow, you know, this would be a wonderful place. This is a Pilates yoga studio back here. This would be a wonderful place for public art. This used to be the theater over here, and it's now a little kind of food court, courtyard for public art. One of many places, I hope, in the future that we put this kind of public art. And so it not only has this space here for standing public art, perhaps a figure, but it also has two walls. Where here's a detail of those walls. At the same time I was doing that, I formed a partnership with Vivian Hui Chen, who's an artist, painter, and we can see her art even before being inspired by Tai Chi and yoga represents the diversity of Long Beach, and this could very well be Tai Chi or yoga that she has, and we have, of course, the Queen Mary in a very abstract view of our city. So Vivid Art is what we're working on, and we'll be making presentations. Thank you for allowing us to make this presentation. So you can see the maquettes, and these are the specific maquettes that I want to turn into more of a proof of concept, make them out of steel. So that's what I'm seeking the funding for. And to remind you, that's to get expert Photoshop, engineering input, computer scanning, and material. So if you would cue up the music here, this is, of course, a celebration of yoga and Tai Chi. Can you click on that? Yes. So, well, we didn't get it into the speakers, but celebration. I see this as a celebration. This just looks like it's part of a celebration dance that these free yoga on the bluff here that goes on a daily basis. And where are we going from here? Well, many places, but this is the end of the beginning, I hope, of developing Tai Chi and yoga-based art for the city of Long Beach. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That emotional to the video, and that kind of gives it whatever you guys want to think the video could be. So you can play.
I went to school at Long Beach Polytechnic High School, graduated in 07, go Jackrabbits. I went to the University of Michigan and got a bachelor's and master's degree in cello performance, and then I got a doctorate in cello performance at the University of Texas.
Wow.
And thank you. I am now I'm officially a doctor. So don't ask me to do anything medical. It's not gonna work. And I was falling really deeply into love with playing the cello and playing classical music the whole time I was in there, in school. But I had to deal with this reality that classical music really is struggling to find relevancy in the 21st century. And the big thing that everyone says, and there's articles all about this, is that classical music is dying. And I had to think a lot about what that really meant and if it was true. And what I've come up with is that it is dying, sort of. The music is not dying. The music's great. It's been great for 200 years. And it's not going to stop being great. Because of the internet, you can listen to it online for free and in great quality, all the time. So it's going to be there forever. What is dying is the classical part. No one is going to concert halls anymore, at least not a big part of our society. And I think that speaks to the kind of negative atmosphere that classical music concerts generally have, which is, if you've ever been to one, they can be a little bit stuffy, they can be a little bit intimidating, and just kind of not that much fun, which isn't really a great way to serve up great music. So what I want to do is start to change the culture around classical music and change the environments in which they're performed. The way I want to do that is by taking the music out of the concert hall and basically putting it everywhere else. I want to start playing concerts in backyards like this. I want to start playing concerts in front yards. I want to start playing concerts all over the city and bring the music to an audience that already exists outside of the theater, because really there's people everywhere, there's audiences everywhere. And when you start playing concerts everywhere, what you have is a stage that reaches across the entire city. And that's the name of the nonprofit organization I want to start. I want to call it the Infinite Stage, and it's my mission to build that stage. So that's the big project that I've been envisioning for the last couple of years. And to show you how I've already done that, I have a video of a concert that I performed and produced with a couple friends, probably more than a couple, last summer in Austin, Texas. And it should give you an idea of the kind of concert that I've done already, and who my audience is, and what their reaction is. The most important thing about the video, I think, is the last minute when my neighbor John is actually describing his feeling at the concert. And I'm sorry if you don't like cursing, but he was kind of on his third or fourth beer at that point. But that's just the kind of concert it was. So Eric, if you'd be willing to cue the video, I'd appreciate it. And I apologize in advance for my really crummy editing skills. I'm not very good at it yet.
Yeah. Hey. How's it going?
Hey, you were
No, actually, I just met him on the 338.
Yeah,
I saw his face enough times where I'm like, all right, I see you too many times for me to not say hi. And now we're buddies.
Yeah, let's go. Kenya and her husband are here, so they're nice. We should probably high five. How's Cactus good? Can handle me? Okay.
Really?
Dance concert.
Well, first of all, that's not something you get to see every day, and most people don't, and it's a shame that they don't. It was one of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life.
Oh shit.
I'm not kidding. It made people feel good. Everybody was just in a great mood, and you just don't get to see that. I mean, people have seen rock concerts and everything like that. I don't know what to say, man.
That was perfect.
I don't know if it is.
Well, it's perfect enough for me.
Some people love that style of music, but they don't feel comfortable going and hanging out with a bunch of rich ass motherfuckers. And so it's kind of tough to see things like that. But I can tell you this, the entire room is moved, and it will be something that every single person here, unless they got a little too fucked up, is going to remember for the rest of their life. It was beautiful, it was moving, and it's great to see people doing things like that. Right?
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you, man. Thanks so much.
Infinite States. Yeah.
He is a player on Infinite States.
Gallop and speed fiery from the steeds towards the nostalgia. Such a wagoner is fading, wicked to rest, bringing cloudy night and beauty. Scrub like close cold love for the wind, like Roland's eyes and Roland's weak in his arms, untalked of and unseen. Lovers must to rights and their own terms, or if love implied to best agrees with night. Simple thou sober suited making all in line. Learn me how to lose a living match, play for a pair of stainless maidens. Put my unmade love cheese for my hate to whiter than new snow on raven's back. Gentle, loving, black brown night. Give me my love. When he shall die, take him and cut out little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I want the mansion of a love, but not possessed it, and though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So tedious is this dance as the night before some festival, to the patient child off the road.
Sorry about that.
Towards the end there. Technical malfunction. But yeah, so that's the idea. It's to pair pieces of classical music with other great monologues with the same theme, and therefore give the audience a chance not only to hear a piece of classical music that they might not always get to hear in a different, in a different context, but also allow them to hear a monologue from a great play that they might not also get to hear in that particular context, and have them mirror each other in such a way that it really does make a great meaningful experience for the viewer. So the way I would use money from artist fees is just to produce those concerts, because we want to do them all over Long Beach and as many different venues as we can. So just being able to provide lights like this kind of thing, provide ambiance, provide the right kind of environment no matter where we go for a concert, to possibly invest in some recording not recording technology, just some amplification so that we can do concerts in parks.
I know a place.
You know a place. Great.
I know a lot of places.
Yeah. There's a lot of people here I want to talk to you about doing collaborations. I've already talked to Eric about the possibility of doing concerts on the platforms of the trains that go by in downtown Long Beach, with dancers and stuff like that. There's a concert idea that I have to play cello while people are doing yoga, actually, because I thought that would be great. So, just really using this nonprofit, this infinite stage, and trying to build it here in Long Beach, and to have it include every person. That's what I want to do. So, thank you.
So overwhelmingly, you know, we just really appreciate everybody, and we hope that you made some great connections, and we hope that all of you enjoyed everything that they brought to the table. And so our winner is Daniel Smith. Congratulations, Daniel. Thank you everybody for participating. Daniel, with the money that was raised, Daniel will receive a grant for $500. Wow. So thank you all for coming. We really enjoyed hosting you and having you learn a little bit about what everybody does, our great community partners, Catalyst and Cultural Alliance of Long Beach, Art, Music and Culture, and Sound and Vibe Recording Studio. And we hope that you had a chance to meet our friend Sander, who's been a special guest here. He wrote a great article about the Artist Feast in the Post. And so if you find that article, you'll see all the links to all of us so that you can follow our social media and keep in touch with us. And definitely stay on the Artist Feast page because we'll be trying to do this in Long Beach and other cities. So Long Beach, we want to try to do it seasonally. And in other cities, we'll just kind of start having those conversations in the arts communities and see how that goes. So we hope that you come back and visit us again and connect and affect, as we say in our Catalyst team. So thank you guys so much and congratulations.